listening to Cider Chat Live. I am your host, Ria Wincaller, the producer and cider MC at ciderchat.com. On Cider Chat Live, it is stories in real time straight off the Cider Chat train to you. So come on along and join the fun. I'll be looking for you out there in Ciderville. Hello, Ciderville. This is a Cider Chat Live where I bring to you real-time recordings as quickly as possible to get them out, partly edited, partly not, and just to keep you connected, especially during these summer months where I am going out every other week. I thought, well, you know what? Y'all deserve a little taste of Ciderville as I know it. And in this one, we have a special conversation with Nicole Todd of Santa Cruz Cider Company, who is traveling from the West Coast to the East Coast and happened to stay at my hacienda overnight with two friends who she does a Zoom meeting with, in addition to a number of other women, as part of a book club. This is one of the great things that happened out of COVID, that people got together in all different kinds of forms. And in this case, it was a book club, and they've been friends forever, just a wonderful, wonderful group of women. We've only met two of Nicole's friends. I can only imagine how the rest of them are from all over the map now. One came that was at our home from Mexico, and the other was from Illinois. And of course, Nicole is from Santa Cruz, the Santa Cruz Cider Company. So if you have been following along, you will know Santa Cruz Cider Company. I've had Nicole on this episode a number of times now, probably dating back to season 2 or so. And then another time where I spent some time out on her land talking about a particular cider that did a spontaneous keeve. So you could go back into the archives at ciderchat.com and just put in Santa Cruz Cider Company, and those episodes will come up. In this case, they were traveling from the West Coast to the East Coast to head to Maine to meet up with more folks from the book club. I was totally over the moon at this opportunity to hang out with Nicole, of course, to drink cider. And while they were here, it was a definite heat wave. So we planned around that. They arrived in the afternoon after I said, hey, you got to make sure you stop in the Finger Lakes region of New York, which they did, stopping and hanging out at South Hill Cider, stopping at the Finger Lakes Cider House and different spots at the farmers market there in Ithaca, a great place if you want to get cider and you can't, or you don't have time to be able to travel all around and visit all the different spots. There's cider to be had at that farmer's market there. Anywho, they make their way here, and I say, well, let's go out for a little ride in the boat and take a swim. And they were game for that. So I'm like, that's like I just love boating so much. So we go out in the boat, and I'm telling you this because I know a lot of folks out there in Ciderville are do-it-yourselfers. You might have a lawnmower or a small tractor, a small engine of some sort that you have to keep going. Maybe it's, something to prune the apple trees, a weed whacker to keep the bushes down or something like that. I certainly have a lot of small engines too. And in this case, I have a 15 horsepower outboard motor that pushes my little boat around. And it normally always starts. I was getting it ready to bring it out onto the ocean where I am now, currently speaking to you from. And, well, I'm not on the ocean. I'm actually on the land right now. Going on the ocean a little bit later today. I've been doing a lot of squid fishing at night, which is a ton of fun. That's another story. I think there'll be some photos going up of that. Anyways, there's a lot going on. I brought them out on the boat, and it seemed like the engine flooded. And I didn't know at the time, but a couple days later, I discovered because there was some gas coming out of the exhaust. And this is a sure sign. It happens with a lot of small engines, is that the float in the carburetor gets stuck. And that's exactly what was going on with this new carburetor I just popped on, thinking it was going to solve my problems. And it didn't. It was kind of a cheapo carburetor, so I had to pull off the float from the other old carburetor I had and pop it on there, and I'm happy to report it's doing really great. But if you're in a similar circumstance and you have a small engine and it's been going okay, and then it seems like it's flooding and not starting, and you're seeing oil and gas, or I should say you're seeing gas in your oil, the dipstick, you know that there's probably something going on with the float in the carburetor, and it's allowing gasoline to continually pour into the engine. Not a good thing. Not only did I have to change the float, but I also had to change the oil in the outboard before going out, because it's diluted the oil now with gasoline, and that's going to mess up those cylinders. So that's my gearhead note for everybody out there in Ciderville working with small engines. Stuck floats, they don't normally happen, but they can. And one thing that you could do, whether you're on your motorcycle, your Vespa, whatever, you got a little stuck float, as a kind of a quick remedy, you could take like the back of a screwdriver, you don't want to have anything hard, and just tap the bottom reservoir where the float is, and sometimes that alone will unstick the float enough. My float on this cheap carburetor, once I took it off, it was definitely too tight of a fit. I don't think anything would have helped it. But that might be something to kind of help you in the meantime. I just want to say that because I know if I had that info when I was out on the boat with the gals, it would have been maybe a boat ride that we could have had versus having Nicole at the bow tied to a rope of the boat and pulling us along. We had a fun time because, let's face it, when you're with folks in Ciderville, you're always having a fun time. Even when you have some like difficulties in front of you, you just kind of face it forward and you don't sweat the small stuff. So they spent the night, really enjoyed their company, and Nicole had brought a special cider. It was for their 10th anniversary at Santa Cruz Cider Company, and we were able to sip on that. I just want to say it was absolutely delicious. That's what you're going to be hearing, that recording. We're being a little bit silly here, and we're opening it up, and she shares the story behind this particular cider. And we paired it with what is called a Basque Cheesecake. As Basque, as in like the Basque region of Spain. That's how it's spelled. And this particular cheesecake is really different than your classic cheesecake. It's very low in sugar, at least the one that we had. So you're having more of the cheese flavor coming out. And I want to tell you, that melded like magically with this 10-year celebratory anniversary cider from Santa Cruz Cider Company. So that's a little short nib that you're going to be getting here. Next week's episode will be rolling out. I just want to make mention of that. That's going to be with Eli Shanks from Chile. You get some updates there. We're going to keep on cruising along for the summer. I'm getting prepared for the French cider tour. Have an email going out to the group on that tour coming up. We essentially have folks coming from the U.S., Canada, a Hungarian cider maker, and there's even going to be a French cider maker joining us for one night on the tour. And I'm saying that here first. I haven't even told the folks on the tour yet of this. So that's how things sometimes evolve in Cider Chat. It's so wonderful. I feel... I just want to give thanks and gratitude to everybody out there in Ciderville who help support this podcast every week and keep connection in all the different ways that you do with me through the months and years and the highs and lows. It's really, really wonderful. All right, let's roll to this little clip with Nicole Todd of Santa Cruz Cider Company. This was a table of women laughing and having a blast and enjoying a 10-year anniversary cider in celebration of Santa Cruz Cider Company's 10 years in business. Cheers. It's 10 years. That's pretty important.
Yeah.
That's huge for all of you guys. So this, do you know about this cider? Yeah. It was given to me when I saw Nicole at CiderCon. Mm-hmm. And, yeah.
And then here we are.
I know. It's a lot... warmer now than it was back then.
Oh, right.
That was like
frozen Portland.
Yeah, right. We'll never forget Portland. Yeah. But
Oh yeah, you went during that
always
storm.
remember moments. So can you tell us a little bit about it? Because to tell you the truth, I had the bottle and I was just sitting on it, and then like how serendipitous that you say you're coming to the East Coast, and how serendipitous that we were coming back this night to be here and be able to do this. Like, I'm just so thrilled to have you here.
Yeah.
I just wow.
Yeah.
Having been at your property that first night of your land and stuff, that was incredible.
Yep. That was really great.
That was really freaking powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was a big fire. Felix's brother was there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I was in a van.
Yeah, a rented camper van.
Awesome van. It had like solar and like a little refrigerator and stuff in it, and
but
it had
was
lights.
2-wheel drive, so we had to sneak you in through the
I cannot even believe I did that.
I can't believe you did that either.
That was, I was just like, I just felt like, like a thread was pulling me the whole time.
You're still the only 2-wheel vehicle to make it into the property.
No kidding. Wow. Well, I do know how to drive vans.
Yeah.
I have a long history of vans. But I just also felt like it was like, when you're supposed to be there. So I kind of feel like all this is part of that too, because how beautiful thing. We were like right almost like at the beginning of the middle of the summer. Like I see the July 15th like the middle of the summer for me a little bit. I don't know, date-wise. And like, damn, this is it, 2024. Getting to meet new people, new friends, sharing food. Epic swim. I will report on what we find out on the carburetor.
Yes, please.
Because I'm really like kind of wondering about
it.
I know, right? Gee, but we did it. Jeez, and that you're like, I'm going to push behind the boat. Like, how are your bathing suits? Are they smelling a little gassy? I hope not.
No, there's so much water there.
Oh, good. So it wasn't that bad. That's good, because that would ruin me.
No, it wasn't like gushing.
No, good.
We would have
it
was just punishing.
Something's going on. I'll get that fixed. Anyways, so let's hear about the cider. Yeah, this is 10 years.
Yeah, this is our 10-year anniversary cider. We called it Decennium, which means 10 year. And so Felix came up with a label, kind of Roman numeral 10. But yeah, it's kind of fun. So we originally launched the cider in 2013, and it was mostly just apples from this one orchard on Casterly Road, where Felix and I had helped ourselves to while it was for sale. And he didn't like it, but I made him go back at night and back the truck in, and we filled it up with apples. And we only took from the ground in case someone was harvesting the trees, but no one was harvesting.
I could see you guys.
We had no idea what kinds of apples, but people asked what kind of apples, and the red ones and green ones. Like,
what do you mean kinds of apples?
The apples.
Edible ones?
Yeah.
Wow.
So then it happened that within several months, a friend bought the property. And that same property we're helping ourselves to. And we're like, Dave, what are you doing with the apples? And he said, I don't know, I've got a Monday through Friday, you can have them. So him giving us access to that orchard is really what let us first know about apples and what kind made better cider and the whole cycles and the growing and the everything. And so that's when we started doing the deep dive. So this was a couple years before 2013 when we launched it. But the 2013 cider that we started the cidery with was all apples from his property. And since then, we kind of grew, and we use a lot of different ones. But the Decennium are all apples from the property across the street, which we now get access to. And this is an old-time farmer. He's in his 80s, and he's got 50 different kinds of apples and pears out there. And he juiced it and sold it at the farmer's market and made all kinds of different stuff from it, but never hard cider. But now he's older. Nobody in the family wants to do the business. So he's the guy that we bought the apple press from with Robbie at Tanuki. And so
I'm sure he loves those trees too.
Oh, and he takes care of them, and he keeps planting new ones, and is still interested in the varieties. And so he was just selling to Martinelli's, and for the small size farm, I think he has 4 or 5 acres, that it's like the wrong size to sell to Martinelli's, because he's 80, he's loading up his flatbed truck with 2 to 4 bins and waiting in line for 4 hours. For them to check him through.
Behind semi trucks.
Yeah, exactly. They get to go past him because they have contracts, and he's too small to have a contract. And then they give him a few $100 for the apples, And so he just got tired, and so I kept like, Joe, I buy some of your apples, sell me all of them. And he liked to have the 2 different, options. And so now I'm like, I will commit to buying all of your orchard every year. Because it's all interesting varieties that, we don't get to go. So he has the Arkansas Black and the Kingston and I think 8 kinds of pears, which I can't even pronounce some of them. And so it's just a big blend of all of his apples and pears.
Fantastic, wow.
And it's right across the street from where we started, and so now it's kind of like the same
sweet.
Neighborhood. It's all within 5 miles of the tasting room.
Wow. That's special. So when you made the cider, were you thinking like you're making it for this, or did it, as it evolved, did it then become the anniversary cider?
It kind of evolved, and I think over the last several years I was working towards making a cider like this. So I got some of his apples, and then some of Jake Mann's apples, and then some from Blues Divine. So we had all these different options. And then this, like, the more access he gave to these different kinds of apples that were definitely more cider specific, with more tannin, more acid, more complex flavors. Then we finally got to, like, make the right blend.
Wow.
And it just ended up being all from this one orchard. So kind of how we started, of just using one orchard of random fruit that we didn't know, and using Red Delicious and making mediocre cider, you know.
Yeah.
Now we know the varieties that we're trying to use and make, and finally found them with them, like, just getting to know the local growers and the ones that are kind of what I call apple nerds, that are still interested in growing the unique and unusual varieties.
Yeah, it's your heart song. Yeah. Cool. Well, let's taste it.
Yes.
Let's open that. To abundance.
Cheers.
All right. So this is
Wow.
last
I always
It's
find
2023, right?
Yeah, 2023. Wow, that's fantastic.
Because you're at 11 years now.
All right.
This is your 10.
Wow.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Hey,
Yeah.
cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for
To Santa Cruz Cider Company. To Santa Cruz, 10 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow. Yeah. How nice. Cheers. Cheers. I want to cheers you. You are really beautiful people. I could see why.
that's
Oh, I
really-
knew, like, Nicole. I was just like, we're not here. You could come in.
I know. I offered that. And I was like, wow.
I felt the same way in
Amazing.
trusting her. I was like, oh, they're your friends? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. That's nice. That's very special.
Yeah.
That's very special.
And this is really good.
Yeah, it's like a sour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But not,
But in a good
not
way.
too much.
Yeah.
No,
No,
it's more.
it's George. Yeah.
Well, some people really like. I don't really like a sour. I can't drink a sour beer. I tried the other day and it wasn't good for me.
No.
But
yeah, it doesn't
but
resonate.
sour has
This,
different
it
kind of
does.
sours,
But
right?
this is,
this
Has
is
a,
like
perfect
drawing.
tartness.
It's drawing, and I think that sometimes gets associated with sour, and I guess it is.
That is what sour
It is.
It's not overpowering.
No, yeah.
That's funny.
Very well
We use it to
balanced.
cut.
Well, we didn't fully talk too much about how delicious the Basque style cheesecake was with the cider, but I could tell you we are all gaga for it. I want to make that cheesecake now for every dinner that I have with cider because it was such a perfect pairing. So I encourage you to check that out too, or maybe your favorite bakery makes Basque style cheesecake. What a wonderful visit. Thank you so much, Nicole, and all the women who are part of the book club that she is part of. It was really inspiring to be surrounded by you. And next week's episode, we have Eli Shanks from Chile, telling us a little bit about the scene down there, and we'll be tasting some ciders too. So if you haven't yet subscribed to Cider Chat, please do, and follow along on all our different social media channels on Facebook, Instagram at Cider Chat Ciderville, and wherever you find your favorite podcasts. This is Ria Windcaller. Thanks for listening, and please share the news that cider is going up around the world.